You want me to close the curtain behind you?
Give me, I will let you know. You are live. Please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kritika Srinivasan from Indian Music Experience Museum. Welcome to this evening's talk, Aayega Aanewala, a talk on unsung composers of Hindi cinema. We have with us today Mr. Sheshadri Mokshagundam, who will be delivering the talk. Mr. Sheshadri Mokshagundam is an artist who started a hobby center after retiring as a marketing consultant for a Hyderabad based company, which catered to the special needs of research and development organizations. Passionate about vintage melodies of Hindi movies, he regularly helps conduct music based events. We are very happy to have you with us today, sir. A hearty welcome to you.
Thank you, Kritika. Thanks to IME for providing me this platform to share my thoughts today. I welcome all the viewers. And today's topic, the popular songs and their unsung composers. This is my humble tribute to all the genius tunesmiths who have given us such wonderful music which have been so enduring and which have withstood the test of time. They're also very, very nostalgic for me because it transports me to that era. I just go back to my younger days. I just grew up listening to good music. Both my parents were very deeply interested in classical music. And music was an integral part of our daily life. Besides this, my mother was also interested in semi-classical light music. And she was a huge, huge fan of Saigal, Pankaj Malik, and Kanan Bala and others. So I was also exposed to that kind of music, and gradually I got more inclined towards that. So Radio Ceylon and Vidh Bharati became my favorite stations. And some of the programs like classical raga-based Hindi film songs in Radio Ceylon and Sangeet Sarita in Vidh Bharati, they became my favorite programs. In fact, I used to copy down some of the notes in the back pages of my student days books. And I would make a note of it and carefully transfer it into a diary. Because somewhere I had the fear that we would lose out on all these interesting trivia and anecdotes. Because that stage of my life, the young Sheshadri did not realize that we'd be going through this digital era where all this data will be available. And then at the click of a button, you can access any information. So anyway, I started collecting the information from various magazines, newspapers, and photographs and clippings. I have a huge, huge collection today. So this is my interesting journey, which is almost 5.5 decades journey. Today, I have randomly selected about 9 composers for this presentation. I have selected one song for each composer, and this is my humble tribute. I request you all to join me in raising a toast to all these legends. The first composer in my list is Khemchand Prakash. I was about 7 or 8 years old. I heard Jagmag Diya Jalao and then Saptasuran Teenagram. These were the 2 songs which I really somehow enjoyed, and I used to look forward to listening to them on my 2-band radio, which was the only source of entertainment those days. Later, much later, when I started studying about Kemchand, I came to know that he was the composer for those two tunes. I got interested and started learning more and more about him. Kemchand Prakash hails from Rajasthan. He was born in a small town, belonged to a family which was very highly cultured, and they had a very rich traditional values at home. His father was his first teacher. Father was a very good Kathak dancer and also a musician. He taught young Kemchand both Kathak and the music. The boy picked up both, but somewhere along the way, he showed more interest in the music, and then that he pursued. He was a prodigy. At a very, very young age, he was able to perform and impress the audience. He had a very good knowledge of the classical ragas, and he studied them in depth. He got into the royal patronage of Nepal king and also in the Bikaner, where he honed his skills further. But his inner passion was to become a composer. So that brings him to Calcutta, where he meets the renowned composer Timur Baran, and he helps him in his projects. Devdas and Street Singer were the two projects with which Kemchand Prakash was associated, and that was a huge success, and he was very, very happy with his work. But that happiness was not very long-lasting, because Calcutta went through a lot of problems, and young Kemchand realized that it was not the place for him to grow. He shifted to Bombay with his idea of becoming a composer. He joined Ranjit Studios, and then he became a very, very successful composer. The first break for him was in 1939, where he was an independent composer, and films after films followed, success after success followed, and Kemchand came to be an established, popular composer. In 1948, he was a composer for a film called Ziddi. That was a real turning point. In that, he made Lataji sing one Chayanat rag based Chandare Jareja. That had a very, very interesting classical raga based composition. In Lataji, in one of her interviews, says how beautifully he had interlaced a long, complex mukda in that song, and it was very challenging. So he says he was a genius composer. And in the same movie, Kemchand Prakash introduced Kishore Kumar also. Kishore Kumar's voice also was a big hit, and people just loved him. And these two voices later, became a big history in the field of playback singing. Singers like Rajkumari, Saigal, and many others recorded their best under Kemchand's production. Later, the best was awaiting for him. That was when he recorded his compositions for Kamal Namrohi. In 1948-49, he signed a contract with Kamal Namrohi Saab, and that was the iconic film Mahal. It was a suspense film, and it called for an eerie atmospheric song, which Kemchand Prakash was very, very good in tuning. Lataji's crystal clear voice and brilliant orchestration, it was so richly complementing the suspense element of the story. This became an iconic song which launched two phases. One was the Nightingale Lata Mangeshkar, the other was the Venus of the Indian movies, that is Madhubala. So let's go over to the video of this song and enjoy it. That was Kemchand. My second composer on the list is Nashad Saab. Don't confuse him with Naushad Saab. He's Nashad. He hailed from Delhi. He was another child prodigy. He was also into deep music, and he also had the encouragement from his parents. They got him trained in great gurus, and he learned to play flute, and he gave a recital at the age of 12 and impressed everyone. After finishing his basic education, he also had his dreams of becoming a composer. So comes to Bombay, comes there with a big dream, and his dream gets realized when he meets all those giant composers whom he was really, worshipping literally. He helped them all, assisted them, under big banners he worked. After that, in 1947, with the movie Dildar, he became the independent composer. That was his big break. And from then on, there was no looking back. He composed for more than 30 films, and all his compositions were soaked in classical music. One after another, they all became popular, and he became a very, very famous composer. He received many awards, accolades, and had a huge fan following. He made about 30 films in India before he migrated to Pakistan in 1966, I think. After going to Pakistan, he made another 32 films. And there also, he got name, fame, and he became an extremely popular composer. And the whole thing became an abrupt ending for him when he suddenly succumbed to life, and he died at a very young age of 57 years. That was an abrupt end to his brilliant career. Today, all his sons are in the same field, and they are carrying on the rich legacy of their father. They are all into the field of music. To celebrate his life, I have chosen one composition from a film called Baradari. It's a 1955 film that shows what a genius composer he was. He has used the voice of Talat Saab. Talat, who is known as the Ghazal King, or silky voice in the moonlit night. He has used that voice so beautifully, and the brilliant orchestration richly complements that silky voice. And this is the famous Talat's number, which many people won't associate with the composer Nashad Saab. Okay, over to the song from Baradari. Our next composer is Mukul Roy, another gift from Bengal. Mukul Roy is famous singer Geeta Dutt's brother, Geeta Roy's brother. He is another great composer, and he was also a producer. He produced many movies for which he composed. And he used his sister's voice very beautifully in all his compositions. He was very greatly influenced by Western music, but retained the Indianness in all his compositions. He has not many films to his credit, but whatever little he has composed, they all have an enduring quality, and they are all hummable and memorable tunes. Now I'm presenting one very nice duet in the voice of Hemant Kumar and Geeta Dutt. Geeta Dutt, as I told you, was a sister whose voice he cleverly used in all his compositions. She had a very, very expressive voice, which could suit any feelings and any emotions. It could have, whether it is a bhajan, or a romantic, or a pathos, or a club dance number. She was always very, very effective in conveying the feelings. This particular duet is an example of Geeta Dutt's voice, how well it is tuned to this particular mood. See, she's the one who rendered Waqt Ne Kiya Kya Hasi Tam. That was Kaifi Azmi Saab's lyrics with so much of emotions. And her voice gives emotions to each and every word of the beautiful lyrics. And the same girl made us tap her foot for Mera Naam Chin Chin Chu. That was the versatility of Geeta Dutt. In this particular duet, she is accompanied by another legendary singer, Hemant Kumar. Hemant Kumar's voice has a reflection of divinity, grace, and dignity. Another gift from the Bengal. Salil Da, in one of his interviews talking about Hemant Da, says, if God were to sing, he would sing in the voice of Hemant Kumar. This is the lovely duet of Hemant Kumar and Geeta Dutt. Let us go over to the detective duet, which was made in 1958. That brings us to the fourth composer in my list, Sapan Jagmohan. Sapan Sen Gupta and Jagmohan Bakshi. These are the two young boys with the same dream and same goal in their life. These two young boys both learned classical music when they were young, and they become close friends, and later on they become the musical duo. They also had the same dream of becoming composers. but luck did not favor them so much. They were singing for Salil Das music ensemble, and then in Taxi Driver, I think Jagmohan got one opportunity to sing for Devanand. But that was not a big break for them, and they could do much. But much later in the 50s, they realized their dream of becoming composers. And that was a nice break for them, which they were really dreaming about. And the composition, though it was very popular, never got them a good break. They always had to be contented with the B-grade films. But they did a couple of movies which became big hit, but somewhere they could not make it to the big league. Their compositions for films like Chetna, Call Girl, and Teri Talash Mein had lovely tunes, and they are popular even to this day. But Tapan Jagmohan as musical duo are not very popularly remembered. Only the connoisseurs remember them. So I am now presenting one totally different kind of a song, which was, composed by them, and where the composers have used Rafi's voice to the beautiful extent. Rafi Saab, whose voice, you can see the heart and soul in his rendering, this particular number, Fir wo bhuli si yaad aayi hai. This is from a film called Begana. This had another 2-3 tunes. They also became very popular. And now let us go over to Fir wo bhuli si yaad aayi hai. That brings us to the next composer, it's Ram Ganguly. Another great composer who is seldom talked about. He was from, again, Delhi, who was a child prodigy, who was trained in classical music, And most of these composers, they all have one thing in common. They're all, child prodigies, and they got nice encouragement from their parents, and they're all trained under great gurus. That is a common feature in all these 9 composers that we have chosen today. He had a natural flair, and his inclination towards music was noticed by his parents, and they were so encouraging, and they got him under the tutelage of Ustad Aladdin Khan, a sitar maestro. He learned the nuances of the rags, and he became an expert. At a very tender age, he gave a very beautiful recital and impressed everyone. That paved way for his future. Some of the people who are connected with films who are in the audience, I believe they recognized his talent and they wanted him to be their composers for their next productions. That's how he entered films. And after entering, there was no looking back. Again, he also had some difficult time, though he was very, very good. Luck was not in his favor for a long time. He did a couple of tunes. They were all very popular, but not many movies were coming in his way. They were all very well appreciated because of the classical raga content, and he was very much, recognized. But there was no major break in his life. He got to meet Prithviraj Kapoor once. He just fell in love with this genius composer. He brought him to his place and made him his music director for all his theater productions. He started giving background scores for all Prithviraj Kapoor's productions. And that's how he met Raj Kapoor sir. When Raj Kapoor wanted to make a film, Aag, Ram Ganguly was the natural and an obvious choice for him. So in this particular movie, Aag, Ram Ganguly gave about 8 tunes. All of them became big hits. And I have chosen one particular song which has been rendered so soulfully in the Mukesh's voice. This is a typical Mukesh number which can reflect pathos like no one else. This is my favorite, and not many people can associate this song with Ram Ganguly. That is the unfortunate thing. This is Zinda Hoon Is Tarha Ki Gami. After Mukesh, we have come to the next composer, that's Hansraj Bail. He's another creative genius we have in our list today. He enriched the 50s film music with his in-depth knowledge of classical music. He was an extremely creative and intense music lover. Born in Ambala, his early signs of talent was noticed once again by his encouraging parents, and he got nurtured. He was sent to renowned teachers for training where he was groomed so well. And then he picked up the nuances of the classical ragas that became his strength in all his future compositions. He became a performer. He performed at various venues. He became an organizer of musical events. He started running a music school, and he became very, very popular. His name became popular amongst all the music lovers. With that, it was not at all difficult for him to get a job with HMV, where he joined them as a music organizer. But the innate desire in him wouldn't stop there. He really wanted to become an independent composer, towards which he walked from then on. Then his big dreams got realized when he came to Bombay in pursuit of greener pastures. Then luck favored him, and the first break he got was from a film called Pujari. All the tunes from this film became a very, very big hit. Singers like Rafi, Lata, Asha, Talat, Suraya gave their best under his direction. He even has the distinction of making Madhubala and Meena Kumari sing for themselves. He has composed some of the best tunes, which I just would like to recall. I'm sure you would remember Mahobat Zinda Rehti Hai, Mahobat Mar Nahi Sakti in the vocals of Rafi Saab, which was a huge, huge success with Rafi Saab's voice reaching the high octave without losing the essence of the song. He had sung it so effortlessly. And one more beautiful sad song was from the film called Milan, Haye Jiya Roye, in the voice of Lata Mangeshkar. That was again a classical raga-based number, which became very, very popular. And I'm sure you'd all remember Jahan Dal Dal Barsone Ki, that patriotic number again in the voice of Rafi Saab in Sikandar-e-Azam. If you revisit his songs, I'm sure you'd all become big fans of Hansraj Bale. Now, I have chosen a very breezy number for this evening, that is Begha Begha Pyar Ka Sama, in the voice of Rafi and Shamshad Begum. Shamshad Begum was another great singer who was in great demand in those days. For some time, even, she was getting paid more than Lata Mangeshkar. She was a most sought after playback singer in her heydays. Listen to this breezy number. After that beautiful duet, we have come to the next composer, that is V. Balsara. I'm sure many of you who were vivid listeners of AIR and Radio Silo must have heard his name. He was coming under Vadya Sangeet program. His orchestrations were very, very, very popular. He hailed from Gujarat. He came from a Gujarati-speaking Parsi family. Another child prodigy. At the age of 6, he was playing harmonium, pedal harmonium, I believe. He was like a fish taking to water. He was good at almost all the instruments, whether it is string instruments or wind instruments. He was very, very comfortable playing them. And he was an excellent piano player. And that was the versatility of this creative composer, V. Balsara. He, because of his talent, again, his mother was his first teacher at home. Later on, he went to many other teachers for different instruments, and that wide exposure made him a real genius. He became a music orchestration director for HMV. But little later, he entered the Hindi film music field. As a composer, he may not have many tunes to his credit, but whatever he has done, he had done a wonderful job. And one particular song that you would be listening now would really be, something which you would really cherish. This is my favorite number, which is Shivaranjani Raga based from a picture called Vidyapati, that is More Naina Savanabado, which is beautifully sung in the voice of Lata Mangeshkar. After this soulful number, let us celebrate Lachiram. Lachiram Thamar hailed from Himachal Pradesh. His father was working in the court of Rana Sahib. Lachiram was also, again, a child prodigy who showed inclination towards music at a very, very young age. But he had some difficult childhood days. He lost his father at a very, very young age. But the benevolent Rana Sahib took the responsibility of bringing up Lachiram. He took care of him as his own son. He engaged a musician in the court to teach Lachiram. Lachiram, having a natural flair, picked up the nuances of the classical music and he became an expert in no time. He was also a very good performer, started performing at a very, very young age. This is Lachiram, who also had the dream of entering the Hindi film field. He started in a very small way, but there was not many takers in the beginning. He got a job with HMV to start with. From then on, then he got some nice connections, and then his first break was in 1945. That was a film called Champa, where he really proved his abilities as a very good composer. His compositions became very, very popular. He worked for nearly about 25, 30 films. All of them became big hits, but today they are not remembered well. But I would like you to visit his songs from the film called Main Suhagan Ho, where he has given many, many memorable tunes. But for the time, now I'll take you to a duet from Razia Sultan, another lovely, lovely duet in the voice of Asha and Rafisa. After this duet, I come to the ninth composer, which is the last for the present day. That's S. Mohinder, another great creative composer who is from Punjab, as you know. He also had his early training because he showed inclination towards music. His father worked for police force. He sent young Mohinder to a Sikh religious leader who was a musician. So he got groomed under him and he learned the nuances of the classical music. Since his father was in a transferable job, he had to move to different places, and everywhere he came under different gurus, and the young Mohinder made good use of the opportunities, and he learned a lot from all his gurus and became a real musician. His compositions had an in-depth, reflected his in-depth knowledge of the classical music that he had learned over the period. And then when the family decides to go back to East Punjab, which is now a part of Pakistan, young Mohinder decided to go to Banaras to pursue his music. He came under very nice gurus and he got beautiful education in music. And then he comes to Bombay to pursue his ambition of becoming a composer. And then he has his dreams fulfilled there when he comes there. And he made some nice music under Filmistan Studios. Many of the movies that he made were very, very well received and became big hits. And now I'm just would like to present one song from Sri Shirin Farhadi, which is a very, very popular number. He worked for about almost 40 films, but before migrating to Pakistan, he gave his best to the Indian film scene. And after going to Pakistan, he did some and then finally migrated to USA and became a permanent resident of US. But all along, music has been his companion, and he has been organizing musical shows and he's been teaching and giving recitals. Music has been his constant companion throughout. That is Mohinder for us. With this, we have come to the end of our presentation. Thank you all so much. Before signing off, I would like to inform you that from my huge collection, I tried to get some of the photographs, but for the two composers whose reference I did not have, I had to depend on the Wikipedia. I hope there's no confusion there, because there used to be a lot of confusion in some of the faces which I could not recognize. So, but I have somehow managed to put them all together for you. And before I sign off, I would like to thank the team of IME for giving me this opportunity and also giving me this excellent support. I would like to thank Kritika, Sahana, and Manita for their excellent support, and my nephew Sundar for his great support. Thank you so much. And I hope this music stays with us and takes us forward in these difficult times and hope we'll be able to pass through this difficult period and come to a normal life very soon. Till then, stay safe and take care and good night.
Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful talk. It was really eye-opener for everyone. And what great music the legends have given us. And thank you so much for taking us through that and giving us that knowledge. We enjoyed this evening's talk a lot. Hope the viewers have enjoyed, because the comments that we have been seeing on the page, and that tells us that they've enjoyed a lot. So thank you so much for taking time and giving us this wonderful talk today. Thank you on behalf of Indian Music Experience.
Thank you so much. I hope you all enjoyed as much as I loved presenting it. Thank you once again.
Follow the IME page.